Folks, welcome to another episode of Your Next Move. You're probably watching this and wondering, why am I watching this? Well, what's the purpose of this? Well, the purpose of this is when you are ready to put your house on the market and move and you don't know where you want to go to, that's the whole purpose of this video, is to find out what your next move is. My special guest today, I'm going to let her introduce herself and where she's from. Special guest, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Heather Kay. I'm in the Scottsdale, Phoenix market, and I moved here 13 years ago from Princeton, New Jersey. So I am an East Coast girl myself, and I know most people from the East go to Florida. So when I came to Arizona, it was a surprise to a lot of people.
Why Arizona? That's the number one question.
So Arizona at the time, the cost of living was much less than the area that I was living in New Jersey. So for instance, um, paying $15,000 a year on tax in a townhouse, but out here I end up paying about $4,000 in a single family house. Insurance is very low. There's very little natural disasters that happen here. There's a lot of things. They have a lot of industry, and the mean age is not as old as Florida. So there's more industry. There's an international airport right here. It was built when cars were around, so there is traffic now. It's changed a lot in 13 years.
All right. So let's start with the beginning. Basically, what kind of housing can we find in Arizona?
So what price point would you want to talk about? Because our price point when I first moved here topped out at about 5 million. Now it goes up to 27 million. So we've had tremendous growth. We've had growth in population, industry, housing values have gone up.
Just about everywhere, basically, housing market's going up.
Yeah, I mean, during COVID, a lot of people left other areas because they could live in an area they weren't locked in. They weren't tethered to where they were anymore.
That's specifically why we started doing this program, just to let people know, hey, you know what? You might not have to stay at your location right now, and you might want to move somewhere else. Is Arizona a good place basically to raise a family and things like that, where somebody wants to retire?
I mean, people are moving here for all different reasons, and different parts of the valley are a better fit depending upon what those goals are. So there are areas where the school system is considered, premium over other areas. I wasn't here when my kids went to school, so I don't look at it that way. We have something called the Arizona School Report Card, and it rates the different districts. There's several different types of charter schools that you can apply to get into. When it comes to retirement, it all depends on retirement for some people is moving into a 55 plus and living as inexpensively as possible. And they do have those. Those are an area called Surprise, just a little bit further out. Sun City is another area. There are some luxury 55 plus also out in Peoria, but the regular people that are second and third vacation homes, gated communities, that is a good part of my business. It used to be a lower price point. Now it's gotten higher. Some of the families are getting priced out and they're going to East Valley. They're going to other places that they can buy more house for the same budget that they have.
What price range are we talking about?
You can buy a house here at it depends on what square footage. Like when you say, it depends on the zip code. It depends on what type of house, how it's finished.
Let me give you an example. Ralph and Trina, they're selling their house here. They're looking to move. The kids are all out. It's just them. And they're thinking, okay, we want to buy something just to put our head down, less taxes, like you said before, and basically just put our roots there and then basically go travel because our kids are out and we want to just travel and live our lives. What can they buy? Let's say they sell something here.
If they would go into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, either with a carport or with a garage, adding a garage adds to the cost, but you can get into that for still $400,000 or $500,000. Now, if you want a 2-car garage, it's going to go up. And if you don't want stairs, it can make, you would have, more limited inventory. So it all depends as it gets more narrow. Still in Scottsdale, there's plenty of condominiums between $450 and $750. At the same time, you could be in a luxury condo that would be well over $1 million.
So it really depends on your stage of life, where you're at, and financially where you're at. There's something for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my son lives in an area called Fountain Hills that I love, and Fountain Hills isn't as well known as Scottsdale is, so you get more for your money there.
Let's talk about things that people can do while they're out there. Obviously, you're coming out there to live. What's recreation? What can people do? What can they expect out there in your areas?
So you could, I mean, there's almost everything that you found in New York City or the New York market that you can do out here, but it's a more active lifestyle. See a lot of people in their, 70s, even late 70s, riding, road bikes as group. Pickleball is huge. Where I live, there's a pickleball club that has like 600 members. There's tennis. You've got lots of swimming. You know, there's all kinds of activities. I mean, the gyms are very social, and you range from like a gym that's like a country club versus, EOS fitness that might be $10 a month. So again, you have a range of whatever it is that you like to do. There's, in Scottsdale alone, there's over 250 golf courses. So you've got other things cropping up now too, like indoor chip and putt, like Pop Stroke. And there's a lot that's being done for the summer months so that people can continue to play. I'm not as familiar. I have to tell you, if you have my son on, he can really talk golf with you. But there's just a lot to do. We have restaurant week here twice a year. And the quality of the restaurants is incredible. I mean, you could go to a different restaurant and never visit the same restaurant twice.
Well, besides real estate, food is my favorite subject, so we might as well get into that subject. Talk to me about the restaurant weeks.
So there's a lot of steakhouses. Some of them are, again, I don't know, what's reached the East Coast market, but Mastro's, you've got Dominic's, I mean, there's so many, it's hard to even to name them all because some of them are luxury chains. So, I call them grown up McDonald's, but then you've got like lots of interesting food, like people that are just creative or, it's actually a little harder to find straight Italian food the way we come to know it in New York. That is a big search. There's some Facebook groups. One's called East Coasters Living in the Desert. And they try to find food products or things that we have a harder time getting here. Or who has the best bagels? Who has the best pizza is always an issue. And so there's a lot of things. I mean, I came out here and because we are in a hot climate, I tend to have changed my eating habits also for a variety of reasons. But there's just a lot of entertainment here. Again, because there's so much space, we have lots of movie theaters that are all stadium seating. And, we have valet parkers at most of these restaurants. And um, it it's it's an easy way of life. Like Scottsdale's tagline is America's most livable city because it's easy to park here. It's easy to get in and out. It's not, you don't feel hassled.
As an easier person, basically on the East Coast, basically, you know how important it is basically for parking.
Mhm.
If we have to circle around a few times, we're not going in. We're just going
Now
back
we
home.
don't have a lot of public transportation.
Okay, that's good
And
to know.
there is a bus system and there's like almost like a trolley system also. They call it the light rail. And they go limited areas. But up and down Scottsdale Road, and now in Tempe, you have more of a organized system for the students and the people that live down there. So again, when people come and they're thinking about relocating, we try to make the best match. If somebody comes and they want walkability, which is really popular, they would probably be in downtown Tempe, downtown Phoenix, or downtown Scottsdale. Well, we call it Old Town Scottsdale. And then, of course, depending upon what that looks like for them. But, when it hits these temperatures, it's, even walking a few blocks is
Brutal.
tough. Yeah. Though you wouldn't want to do that in knee deep snow either.
So you got to weigh basically what's important to you and what you can deal with at the
Well, you
moment.
kind of adapt the same way you do for the snow. So in other words, you're watching the weather report and you're not headed out to someplace far away when you know it's going to snow. And here it's the version of that is you're not going to go to the supermarket and buy things that are going to melt and do a storage. You would do your shopping last and then drive home.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
you just, you do things a little bit differently, but it all works out. I don't mind the summer.
All right. Well, my next question is pretty much a lot of the people who are watching this usually have animals or they plan to get animals. Scottsdale, someplace that basically they can have your pets going outside, not have to worry, or basically have everything fenced up. Well, what exactly can we
So
expect?
Scottsdale is very dog friendly. You can bring the dogs and sit on patios, and the dogs are there either on the ground or in strollers. Nobody is particularly worried. My dogs have even come into the supermarket and people pet them and the people that work there are pretty friendly. It's probably more habit than if you actually check the fine print on who's if they're supposed to be in there. But it is hot. You can't leave the dogs out in most communities. There's too many predators here. We have
That was going to be my
coyotes
next question.
and bobcats, and you need to be careful. There's a risk to doing that.
Okay, so obviously keep an eye on your animals just like you would keep an eye on your kids. Well, most people with the animals and kids are pretty much like one, they're all together. So you mentioned schools. If somebody's coming out there, commuting out there basically to, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to school in this area and they're a young family and they want to start their careers in your area. What kind of schools can we find there?
Well, I mean, you have the same schools. The one thing that's different, and again, I don't know where you are, but for in New Jersey, you needed to live in district or pay to go to a different district. And here we have open district. They won't bus you, but you can go to any school. There are a few schools that are closed out, but if a principal will interview and that child, for instance, has some skills or can bring something, I think they're more apt to bend the rules or find a place. But they do have charter schools. You know, I'll send you a link and you can share it. Maybe put it, if you're uploading this to of where the school report card is.
And what about like older people, like pretty much, let's say college level, they're coming out to start their career and then maybe they're having a kid or kids, plural. They're doing their career and they're starting their new family and mom and dad decide they want to come and help the kids basically with the new grandkids because they don't want to be left behind. They
Right.
want to retire the shovel and come out to Arizona and live out there with their kids and their new grandkids.
Are you
What
talking
kind of
about like
schools?
multi-generational living or just somebody?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So multi-generational living, as long, you just need more rooms, right? So it really depends on the price point that you're going in with. I have had people sell their family home and then combine all of the finances to be able to buy something bigger here. There's a lot of homes that have casitas here, some with a kitchen, some without.
Remember, we're from the East Coast. We don't know what casitas are. So can you translate what that is for us?
It's a little ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, but it is not separate. And there can be rules around it with every HOA. They can all be different. Or you can drop them into places that don't have an HOA. I mean, you can actually drop prefab small houses onto a parcel of land with a main house. Arizona is pretty flexible. No, the state's a libertarian state. And so it's very flexible in terms of they don't over legislate things. Sometimes they try, but yeah, that works out for people. But the extra bedroom, bathroom that's separate, where that's private, can be a nice architectural
Bonus.
setup for the right people.
Okay. Well, you mentioned basically your state's kind of liberal, basically, with some of the rules. A lot of people who are selling property here or wherever they're watching this, they might be thinking, all right, you know what? I want to buy something in your state, but I'm not going to stay there for too long. Maybe I'll buy it and maybe I'll use this as an Airbnb or something along those
Mhm.
lines. Is that allowed in your area?
So again, it depends where you buy. Anyone that's going to do a vacation rental, you're better off buying where there's no HOA. And now some of them are generous. It really depends. And they're each, they don't publish it anywhere. We can't search it that way. It's a matter of calling each individual HOA, but you run a risk that they could change the rules at some point. Most of the time, it's a minimum of 30 days. Occasionally it's a minimum of 3 months, but it depends it is the highest return on investment to do a vacation rental. So it can be, so in Arizona, that one of the unique things or, one of the unique attributes about buying here for an investment purpose is that you can cash flow. You're still going to build appreciation and you can do accelerated depreciation depending upon what you're looking at and what your accountant advises. So there are places that you could buy cheaper, strictly talking about investment now, but you might not have the appreciation that we get. So it's really up to the investor as to what's most important to them.
So I think the most important thing is whoever's watching this is they have a conversation with Heather, find out basically what exactly it is that you're looking for. She'll point you in the right direction and just go through the numbers of what makes sense for you and your family if that's what you decide to do. Or for those of you who are thinking, all right, I want to buy my forever home in this area, you talk to Heather and she'll walk you through the process.
I
Now
mean,
we go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, say that's most of what I do is when people call initially, when somebody refers me or somebody calls me and they're relocating and they're even thinking about it, I like to talk to them about, what their goals are, what motivated them, because that gives me a little bit of a blueprint as to what experience they're looking for. And a lot of times I'll say to people, what do you do when you're not at your house? Or, to give them an idea of where they should be or what type of people they like or what type of experience that they want. Just always being really careful. We need to be careful with fair housing, obviously, but people need that extra concierge service to say, okay, this Maricopa County, which encompasses Phoenix, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Cave Creek, Surprise, Sun City, Mesa, Chandler, Ahwatukee, and Tempe, right? More places than that. It's one of the largest counties in the United States. So unlike the East Coast, which is, a different county, as soon as you drive a few miles, I cover all of it. So
That's good to know.
you get it. There's a few places that I won't go if it's really far, from the house, because then I don't feel like it's fair to the clients. I might not know it as well as I should, but you've got a tremendous amount of variability. You could be in new construction. There's a lot of building going on here. We have areas that are opportunity zone. I love buying multifamily with people. So, live in part of it and rent part of it, especially down around Tempe. That can be a great strategy for someone. And for multi-generational living, you can be in your own place and have two different, units entirely.
So it sounds like there's a lot of things going for in that area. If you had to pinpoint just one or two things, basically like something we didn't discuss already, that whoever's watching this is the area you need to be in. What would you say to them? Here's one or two reasons you need to be here that we didn't discuss already.
Just to come to Arizona in
Just come
general,
and live, buy,
I think
rent.
that I think that the state is very well run. And as a result, it has kept our taxes low. In the last few years, we had a reduction in our state property tax. That almost never happens. So I find that things are, they're working on the roadways. When we had a lot of growth, they improved the airport. Our airport's one of the best airports in the country. And you've got a very responsive government now. And it's, for anyone that's worried about like, politics, hot subject here, it's pretty neutral here. You've got 34% Republicans, 32% Democrats, but the rest are independent, which means that they are issue based. So they don't, follow one way or the other, which is why it made us a swing state.
That's really good to know. I guess the next question I have to say is or ask is pretty much people who are watching this, they want to know more details. How can they get in contact with you to set up an appointment, whether they're coming down for a weekend or just having a conversation on the phone or
So
Zoom?
I am so easy to find. If you put Heather K, and that's Kay, no E, and real estate, or Heather K in Scottsdale into the Google search bar, you're going to find me in a second. So I'm always happy to talk to someone. You can always text me, but my phone number is 480-442-529. And I love talking to East Coasters about coming here. I think it's been a great experience for my whole family. I don't know that I can say one thing other than there's so much growth. You have to be willing to be able to live without a beach, which is hard for some people, but you can drive to Rocky Point, which is the part of Mexico that shares our border. You can also drive to California and be, in Orange County in 6 hours. You can drive to Colorado. Like we have, Flagstaff is one of America's snowiest cities, believe it or not. And it's only 2 hours away. So you might not have the beach right here, but we have lakes, and I don't think people would miss it. We don't have a Bloomingdale's. That is one thing I miss.
You're not missing much with Bloomingdale's.
I like that Bloomingdale. So
Well, anyway, Heather, thank you so much for your time and giving us a sneak peek of what to expect if people are coming out to purchase, whether they're buying their forever home or if they're buying property to use as an investment and whatever the case may be. Give them your phone number one more time.
480-442-0529.
Well, folks, I just want to say thank you, Heather, for your time. I'm Evan Saint-Gerard, your real estate agent here in New York, Queens, to be specific. If you're thinking about selling your home in Queens, Long Island, Brooklyn, Bronx, Westchester, wherever you're looking to sell, basically, give me and my team a call. We can definitely help you with that. And then we can connect you to Heather and you can find out basically if that is your right move or your next move. I'm Evan St. Gerard. I just want to say thank you for watching and feel free to leave comments down below. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.